Debbie, do you have an extra copy of the minutes from last?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. What happened to you? Take care of your drink. You go into, I'm a small person, I think like a small person. Thank you.
So are you doing a Facebook and?
We're not streaming to Facebook, only,
The county link?
only to Zoom.
Okay.
And then it will, once the recording is complete, it will go on YouTube. Yeah. I'm just trying to see why this camera isn't the main one. There we go. Okay.
But it started on
Okay.
Zoom?
It is started on Zoom
Okay.
and, yes,
Oh, okay. Hi, guys, take a seat.
Welcome.
All right, it is just past 5:30. We're called the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming today. We're going to start with Vesta.
What am I doing? Oh, where is it?
It's right in back here.
Okay, because I actually put one in my car, but I didn't grab it. Okay. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
We're working on it.
Debbie, can you do a roll call?
yes. Vesta Cope Stakes,
Presents.
Betsy Van Dyke,
Here.
Mike Nichols,
Present.
Vicky Clues,
Present.
Lucy Hardcastle,
Present.
Kathy Dahl,
Here. Present.
Patty Thayer,
Present.
and Chair Pitt Marquez de la Plata.
Here. Before we start, I just want to, like, everyone is encouraged to participate. There will be a 2-minute timer for any comments or questions that you have. And is there a clock that's going to come up? Or-
Not on the screen, I will do it. If people who are participating virtually will have a timer on the screen, but in the room, there will be a alarm on my
So
phone.
when you hear the little, if there's an alarm, that means you have 30 seconds left. And we do that just to keep the moving going, and we want everyone to be able to participate. And I'm just gonna encourage everyone to be respectful of everyone. We're all up here, and we're all volunteers. You guys are good enough to show up. Everyone's trying to do their part, so please be respectful throughout the meeting. It's very much appreciated. Sometimes it doesn't go that way, and it doesn't make a great meeting, and it's not so good. So anyway, let's approval of agenda. Everyone,
I'll motion to approve the agenda. It's a nice, simple one. Thank you.
sure.
I
Second,
second that.
okay. Now it's time, roll call, sorry.
You can do, you can do a regular vote,
Oh, okay.
like everyone can
So-
say.
Everyone,
Aye.
I'm so used to Zoom. Okay, now it's time. If there's anyone on the council who has a conflict with anything that's on the agenda, now it's the time to speak up. Anyone there? We're gonna move to the consent agenda, which is basically approving the minutes from the last meeting. Everyone, I'm hoping, has read them. And if you have any comments or suggestions, now we can bring them up and we'll make amendments to the minute and get those going.
Debbie, should I bring up anything about the land acknowledgement part?
On the minutes,
Any,
was it,
Is it incorrect in the minute?
no,
Oh, then no, you can do that.
okay. I wasn't out.
Oh, okay. Since there's no comments, can we get a hand raised on moving the public comment? Oh, is there any comment on the minutes? All right. Can we get a vote to approve the minutes?
I so moved.
Second,
Second.
and then
when you say all those in favor?
all those in favor, I'm abstaining, I wasn't at the meeting. We got this side of the table that said aye, and this side of the table said not there.
So Pip, Vicky, and Kathy abstained.
Okay, now it's time for council members to bring up anything that's not on the agenda. If there's something that you wanna say or you have a comment, now's the time to do it. Anybody?
I think Vicky, this is the time.
Yep.
you wanna
Yes,
get-
sorry. So I just wanted to mention that in the ad hoc and standing committee reports, that we do have a new ad hoc for land acknowledgement,
Right.
and that just wasn't listed here.
One other quick comment.
That's it.
Is it possible, and I don't know whether the communications committee is the proper one to do it, but it takes a long time for the minutes to come out to be published. And we cover topics at our meetings that would benefit if they were turned into basically an article. Like that would be up on our website, that would say, this is what happened at our meeting last time. Especially when committees are giving reports that it'd be good for people in the public to know that we're accomplishing things. And if it was written in a way that had no opinion, but it was basically documenting it outside of just meeting notes and the recording, like basically listen to the recording and then turn it into something that people could understand. It'd be a wonderful thing for getting people to understand more of what we do and what we accomplish. And the question would be, who does that? And is that the kind of thing that the communications committee would do? Is that part of the communications committee's agenda? No, it's not.
No.
So is it just, I'd like to put it out there that it seems like it would be a useful thing for us, since we're trying to get people familiar with what we do. And this is dry and people won't necessarily read it.
Well, we are attempting, as you know, to have more press and have more publications and have more visibility that way. And if we did have a regular column, for example, somewhere, then we could do a recap, if you will, in the last SMAC meeting. Here's the topics that were covered. Here's the, stuff that came up. We don't currently have that, other than thank you, Vesta, for your writing and publishing. That is something that we're attempting to
Yeah,
do.
'cause that's dependent upon a media outlet to say we want to do that. But if it was something that we would write and put up on the MAC website.
Yeah, I understand, but the communications committee can't do that every month. And that's not our charter. We're
Well,
not-
Not only that, it's that it would have to be approved by everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Including the county.
That's the issue. It has to come
Oh,
from, it
okay.
has to come from, like Debbie does the minutes.
Mhm.
We all approve them.
Uh-huh. And we don't approve them until the next month.
Well, the
So by
solution,
that time, it's
the
all.
solution
used.
might be to watermark the minutes as draft. And that's what we do many times in community services districts. We publish the minutes in a draft format so that they're available and posted on the website for folks to review prior to the next meeting.
So you're saying that gets it there more quickly than, because that's part of the issue. You really
Right.
brought up two things. One is how fast it's coming out, and then the other is how hard it is to read.
The minutes are traditionally done quicker than you see them. Because they
Right.
come out with the packet to everyone,
But
right?
that's still, that's
That's-
not like within a couple of days or within a week of like today's meeting. It'd be great if the public who is not attending
Right.
knew what we did at
Mhm.
this meeting.
Yeah, and I think they generally are, aren't they, Debbie?
They're not
Like 10
published.
No, I know,
Oh.
they're usually done within. 10
Usually,
So we could look at getting them out earlier. put in as a draft, correct?
Right.
And then we can
Mhm.
publish them that way and say it's a
Sure,
draft.
it's a draft and it's subject to approval at the next meeting.
That's better
That
than
solves the
nothing.
problem.
Right.
Yeah.
You had some fun.
Oh, yeah, was that okay?
Yeah.
One thing I think that the members of the Met can do, I do.
Speak up.
Oh, I'm sorry, one thing, sorry, that the members might think about themselves, because it can't all fall on the COMCON. Is I do a summary within a few days after this meeting and push it out to Friends of Villa Grande and Friends of Monterey, but the areas that I represent. And if there's a disclaimer, this is not formal minutes, this is just my takeaway of things. And I ask them then, please go and listen. If you're interested, please go listen to the recording that's available. So, but I think it's something that the COMCON can talk about at our next meeting. We've got another one coming up pretty soon.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
So you
Next.
already do it. So then it's getting done. And the thing is,
Well, but the thing is, you have to be careful about, I think, about what you're saying and how you're representing what was
It can't
talked
be
about
in
in
the-
the meeting.
Correct.
Absolutely right. I just sort of say, this came up and it was discussed and it's here. If you want to go hear more about it, go listen to the report.
and could we use that?
Yeah, I do the same thing as well. But I must say, I put a little flavor in mine. You know, which.
And that's the thing we have to avoid. is
Yes.
The flavor part.
Yeah.
And I do it verbally at our Friends of Rio Nito.
Yeah,
Um,
well, we'll talk about it at the next COMCOM meeting.
Okay,
I
at least
think.
getting the draft minutes, not our version of what.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah.
What's happened earlier.
Yeah, that would help. That'd be wonderful.
so I think that's doable.
Thank you.
I just wanna second what you said. I've been following these now for a year. and
Can-
this is
can
like
you-
the
can you-
second of-
Can you hold that thought for a second?
Oh, we're not allowed.
Yeah, it's just back and forth.
If there's a rule. just
Yeah,
follow
it's a
the
rule. But you can say it and it's that. So hold your thought.
You get a chance.
Any other council comments on things that are not on the agenda?
Just one quick thought,
Yeah.
the former superintendent of Monterey School passed away earlier this week.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
Ross Pickford has been a stalwart for the community for the last 20 years. He was a principal at Laguna High School for a number of years, and you might want to take just a moment of silence in memory of Ross.
Okay, thanks. Any other council members with stuff that's not on the agenda? No, now public, now you can.
Follow this committee, since we're set up mostly on Zoom, and I think this is my second and first meeting. I just really want to second that. I have to tell you, I've worked for government, I've done minutes myself. It is very hard to follow what meaningful stuff has been discussed and has gone on in this committee. You really need to put the minutes in English or an executive summary or something that you're legally allowed to do. I mean, one would almost think you deliberately don't want anyone to know what you're doing. That's how difficult it is. So I think I'm not just speaking for myself. I really, okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment?
There's one here. Dan, fine.
I want to second the recognition of Ross Pickford. He was my next door neighbor. We were very close. So we're staff to lose him. I'm here tonight wearing my fire department cap. As you may know, there's been a lot of effort to consolidate fire districts in the county. Sonoma County Fire has kind of walked its way west, and they have jumped over Monterey. In the meantime, Gold Ridge down southwest of Sebastopol has been working to consolidate with all of the volunteer fire companies that are to the south, but also including Camp Meeker and Fort Ross. And that was accomplished yesterday at the LAFCO meeting. So there's still some formalities, but basically it's a done deal. during that process, we in Monterey have been talking to Gold Ridge to become part of that whole consolidation. So we now have to go through the LAFCO process and be included in their sphere of influence, and then ultimately make an application to consolidate with them. So there hasn't been a lot of discussion in the community about this. Somebody asked me the other day, how do I find out? And I went, I don't know, you know. And it's because it really wasn't a thing until Gold Ridge finished what they were doing. And they still have an elephant to swallow. So there'll be some digestion before we can really become part of it. But we're working hard to be included. We are starting to actually integrate our training, and we're coordinating our equipment purchases with them as though we were a consolidated district. So we're looking forward to, in the next year, I hope, having a West County district that we're part of, and actually bring Camp Meeker and Fort Ross into one contiguous group. Not included in that is Cazadero or Cazadero, and perhaps they'll come on to something.
Thank you. Anyone else have something that's not on the agenda that you want to bring up? Anyone on Zoom?
We do,
Oh, sorry.
we do have one hand raised in the audience. And Leo, can you bring Jackie into the room?
Sure. Yep, Jackie has her hand up, and anybody else who is participating virtually who would like to speak, please raise your hand. Jackie, you should be allowed to unmute at this time.
Yep, got it. Hi, Leo. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Jackie Brazil, and I'm with the Forestville Skate Spot. We're the nonprofit organization who is raising money to build a skate park in Forestville. And I just want to say a huge, big thank you to Supervisor Hopkins and to the District 5 team for supporting our skate, music, and art for Tyree Nichols Skate Jam that we had at the end of April. It was super fun. It was really successful. We had Kirsten Lang, who's the president of the NAACP. She said a few words. We had MJ Linda Lawyer, who's a muralist with the Mural Project, and she was painting a mural with kids. We also had DJ Deasley and Tony Manfrey from Forestville, and they were spinning the vinyl. And we had skateboarders of all ages from 5 up and up. And they were skating with their parents, guardians, and grandparents, and their friends. So because we don't have a skate park yet in Forestville, the event happened at Cars Drive-In, and also a huge shout out to them for supporting us with this. This was our second skate jam there, and it was, like I said, super fun. So thank you, Supervisor Hopkins and the team for supporting youth wellness and for believing in public skate parks, because they are a safe, fun, supportive place and really good for communities. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. That's the only hand I see up, so you should be ready to
Okay,
proceed.
we got one up here.
And if you would like to come a little bit closer, maybe to the podium, because this is the camera and the microphone that's picking.
Ryan Miller from Monterey, and it's not a comment as much as a question, maybe not that Elise is here, just an update on what's going on with our bridge that's out, that there's this huge detour now. We have 2 major events coming up at our amphitheater, one in a week and one in several weeks after that. That's just totally going to be impacted by this closure. So I'm just hoping for an update on what's going on with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're gonna, Supervisor Hopkins can't be here this evening, so Elise is gonna give a update from the 5th district.
Good timing, right?
I know.
Traffic was terrible coming here. Well, I was going to give a roads report, so here we are, right, Brian?
I'm really pleased to report that, as expected, June 5th, the Moscow Road bidding process closed. It became very clear who the consultant would be. I don't know, they're in the contracting process now, so I can't announce who it is, but just to let you know that a contractor has been picked and they're working on the contracting. And so everything is going forward on time as expected. And that is addressing both slides. Those are common questions we get. Main Street Bridge, it's not going to be fixed by this weekend. And the detour is not changing before then. So thank you for your question. That's going to be another long one. I'm really, really sorry to say. It is a FEMA project. It's a super expensive infrastructure project, and it's moving at FEMA pace. So it's at least beneficial if there is a fairly easy detour around it, and that's what we have to work with at this point. The other thing, let's see, were there any other roads? All the other roads things are going along as progressing as expected. In terms of the governance study, as you guys have seen, we moved the meeting to July 15th in order to accommodate the many, many people who asked us to move it. We now have people asking us to move it from July 15th. It's not moving again. So the first move was not my, on the plus side, I just wanted to take a minute to explain the process so that you'd understand. It's not that if you miss this one meeting, that you'll be out of luck. The idea is that we will, these are really complicated issues. They're big, important issues. And we're not going to say, okay, we talked to 100 people at this meeting and now we're done. We're going to have a lot of outreach. The first section was the community, getting input from the community. A lot of those things we already knew from ongoing input from you all. There were a few surprises that we've added. The second stage is launching now with this piece, which is having the consultant come out and talk about what are some of our governance options to solve some of these governance problems. And in that, we'll have to have a lot of education. What are the leadership options? What are the taxing options? What are the different size options? And so we're going to have this big meeting on July 15th. It will be recorded. It will be available afterwards for people to watch. But also what's going to be happening is we're going to be going out to your meetings. We're going to be asking you to invite us. You know, ask us to the Cazadero Community Service meeting. Ask us to the Rio Neto Friends of Rio Neto meeting. We're going to be coming out to your neighborhoods so that people who were able to attend and people who weren't able to attend will be able to ask things. We did a test, one of our first small group meetings with the Russian River Chamber of Commerce. Several of the board members didn't know what a municipal advisory council was. So we're going to find that to be true. A lot of people don't know what a community service district is. We're going to find this stuff to be true across many, many, many of our regions. And we can't make good decisions if we don't know what the various pieces and options are. So this next section will be a deep educational dive, and we'll be doing a lot of different outreach before we go forward. The Confluence and the Russian River Watershed Health Project is moving forward well, and I wanted to let you all know, we're going to touch on this, I think, at a future meeting. We had the first meeting of the Water Forum this last month in May, and this is something that many people have never heard about, and again, we want to just educate as many people as possible about it. There are a lot of threats to the Russian River watershed. One of them is a project you may have heard of called the Potter Valley Project. There are two dams up where the Eel River and the Russian River come together. The PG&E, imagine this, PG&E hasn't been investing in infrastructure. And as a result, we've got two dams that are barely functioning and won't be able to continue working at the level that they were. So PG&E has decided rather than investing more money in them, they're going to give up the license. And the reason why this is super important to us in this, region that is so far north of us and that you've probably never heard of or heard of very little is that one of the elements of that dam is that they diverted water from the Eel River into the Russian River, which is what has enabled. So since 1906, we've been able to have flows in the Russian River all through the summer that were not traditionally there. Traditionally, before 1906, a lot of the Russian River would dry up in the summer. So we're in a really intriguing situation in which if we do nothing, we're going to go back to pre-1906 times. So the Water Forum is a group of people that are coming together. They got a grant from, I'm really sorry, I think it's a state grant, to address this problem. And they're going to be working with the Russian River confluence. And we're also going to need to have a lot of community involvement as well, because we need some positive voters advocating for positive solutions. So those are kind of the three big things going on across our area right now. Are there any questions?
Let's go to council first. That's up.
With the water, we have Lake Sonoma and Lake Mendocino who receive water from the Eel River.
Yes.
They hold the water in order to supply water to the Russian River. A lot of it's regulated out of Lake Sonoma, both of them, basically. Do they not get the water, but those dams still function for us in terms of holding water that comes from the watershed that would then be released? And they would simply not have Eel River water?
If nothing is done and the dams are taken down, we will not have Eel River water any longer.
But we still have Lake Mendocino and Lake.
You'll still have Lake Mendocino, Lake Sonoma. It is a smaller problem for us in the lower river than it is for the upper river because Lake Mendocino is so much smaller and more dependent upon the Eel River. Ours is much larger. Lake Sonoma is much bigger and has a much greater capacity. That being said, we have been in periods of historic drought. And when it gets low, every drop counts. So we're gonna be bringing up a lot more information about this. Yes, Nancy.
So when PG&E dumps the dams, and so no one else will take responsibility for them? No one else can take responsibility for them?
Yes, I think though that we're just such a fascinating topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was just giving a preview of something that we're really going to dive into in a future meeting. So no, nobody wants to take responsibility for the dams.
And that's when
And because they're going to be very expensive, and there's a big conflict about what will happen. The tribes on the Eel River say we never gave up our water rights and we don't want to give them back to you. There are others like the trout teams who say we want both dams to come down and we want the rivers to go back to their natural state. There are others that want to make sure that some sort of diversion remains in order to ensure that the lifestyle of the Russian River continues the way it's gone since 1906. So it's just something to be aware of. And if you get a chance, we will bring it up in a future meeting and you'll have a chance for lots of questions with some presentations, but also, go look up the Potter Valley Project and watch some of the videos because it's really quite a critical issue. And we're all quite concerned. One of the issues that came up in the Water Forum is here's this huge issue and very few people are getting engaged with it or talking about it. So I'm just raising the flag that possibly before we have this issue come before the MAC, the more we're listening to videos or reading about the more prepared we are to have a great conversation.
And this was the two basin solution that stopped happening?
Yep.
Okay.
And of course, it's further complicated by the Potter Valley water rights issue. And that's another part of the puzzle.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So Mark Twain said we were fighting over water and we're doing a good job.
Elise,
Yes.
Going back to the governance study issue, I'm not sure how this will work, but this idea of the outreach that you're going to do, I'd really like to try to have some synergy with that for our communications committee in getting the word out about the MAC. Like you said, we're attempting in as many places as we can. So where it's appropriate or where you're having those meetings and we could have some presence, I would say, let us know.
That's a great thought. I'll collaborate. Just not for the days.
He's still on vacation.
I'll reach out.
He's on his way back.
We'll make sure.
There's several comcoms here.
Because it is a great opportunity for people to learn about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
That's a little bit more mundane, on the bridge, that is out. There is huge traffic now going down Bohemian Highway and coming back that didn't used to go there. And the road there is in terrible condition on one side of it. And I will report that to SoCo, but also the road markings are really bad. So if we are going to have to deal with that long term, I just think it's really important to get, and you can barely see where the lanes are and where you should turn left or where you should go straight. So we ought to pay a little bit more attention, given that that's going to be a long time. That's going to be the route. The other thing is, do you have with respect to the Mocktown Road repair, do you have any information yet about when work will begin, and will the contract negotiations require the contractor to give us notice when the road on one end or the other is going to be shut down?
So I usually does that, and we will make sure that they do. That is our collaboration between SoCo and the contractor. I can't tell you what's in the contract until the contract negotiations are done. But we will certainly do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone out there either on Zoom or here in the room have questions for Elise?
On the road closure, the bridge closure, is there still a consideration of putting in a one-way light?
There is, and what's going on with that at this point is that we had to get, in order to put in the light, there needs to be significant vegetation trimming. And in order to get that vegetation trimming done, we were having to get an EIR environmental permit. That being said, I mean, our first impulse, and I'd love your input on this, our first impulse was to get a one-way light on that in order to be able to make that functional. The challenge with that we've discovered is, as you're driving from the direction coming over the bridge, and imagine the level of traffic coming over the bridge, and you're waiting for that to turn right because for that light, you're holding up the entire bridge, right? Whereas if we don't have that light, it'll just keep flowing around. So I think the first impulse and the first input we got from the neighbors was we want to be able to go on that road one way. I'm thinking during the busy season, that'll create more problems than it will solve. So can you see that? Does that make sense? So it may be that we may want to leave the light until the fall or altogether. And just get that road in better repair and better painted for the period that we need to use that detour. It's funny, isn't it? How you think one way and then you go drive the road and you go, wait a minute, well, what's going to happen here? Thank you.
I'll chime in with an online typed question because part of it was about the Main Street Bridge, which I think you answered, but I'll read the whole question and you can answer the rest. The anonymous attendee asks, when will the traffic lights be set up on the Main Street Bridge that were mentioned in the Press Democrat? And how is the damage to the Main Street Bridge going to affect the schedule for the replacements of the Monterey Bridge over the Russian River?
The Main Street Bridge and the Monterey Bridge are two separate projects, if I'm reading the question right, and they don't affect each other. The Monterey Bridge over the river is being paid for. It's a Caltrans project, which is being paid for by the state. And the Main Street Bridge over in front of Bartlett's is a FEMA project, which is being paid for by the feds. So there is no overlap whatsoever. I did mention, in terms of roads, the other thing that maybe some people might want to know is that the next FEMA project that's just been approved, that's also going to start moving forward, is the hillslide that took place on West Side Road. That's also from the 2019 flood, and that those homes have been waiting a long time as well. So that's the next one to be approved. Any others?
Any other questions?
I don't see any hands raised. Leah was going to give a little update on budget. And can also ask attendees if there are any virtual attendees that have questions for Elise.
Sure, and I'm in the office while they're cleaning, so that's the background noise. But just I'll also read off that there's 2 more comments that were made in the Q&A section. Right now there's no hands raised, so if any members of the public want to speak, please raise your hand now. The 2 comments from the anonymous attendee kind of follow on to what Debbie and Elise were talking about. Just the suggestion to hire flaggers and noting that they'll be working in the same area. So just passing that feedback on. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time, but I just wanted to make sure that people were aware that there is a special board meeting on Monday, and then budget starts on Tuesday. So the expectation is that budget hearings will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Monday special meeting is more like what a regular board meeting is like, and there are quite a number of items that are on that calendar. It's pretty jammed. So there's a pavement preservation item. There's extreme temperature response annex, which is talking about the extreme heat and extreme cold and having centers to address those needs. There's some homelessness related funding being allocated. So there's really quite a bit both on the consent agenda and the main agenda. So if people are interested, this is a good week to take a look online at what's going to be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Monday, as well as the very extensive budget materials that the process starts for that on Tuesday. So I just wanted to share that with you so that you're all aware. And also, I know I met someone today who was confused about some of the items that they expected to be on Tuesday, which is the normal board hearing day, but most of the non-budget items are on Monday this week. So just wanted to let you all know that. Thanks so much.
Hey, Leo, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I did read the agenda and I looked at the pavement preservation item, and is it just re-upping? Because I didn't get any specifics out of it. Like, can you give me the gist of what that line item's all about for that particular meeting?
Sure. I mean, I know that we have our public infrastructure experts with you in person, but the thing that I usually look at for the board item is what the recommended action is. And so the recommended action to the Board of Supervisors by staff is to approve Sonoma Public Infrastructure's recommendations to increase the pavement preservation program general fund based contribution annual adjustment factor from 2% to up to 5% after considering economic uncertainties and based on financial revenue factors such as the annual projected property tax growth rate and the average annual consumer price index, and provide direction to SPI on future program goals. And then there's a lot of detail and 3 attachments. But my understanding based on that is just to basically increase the rate of general fund contribution toward the pavement preservation program. So
if that passes, that would be a great benefit to those of us out here that benefit from the pavement preservation program that don't get general roads funds, correct? Because a lot of the roads sometimes that we have problems with get paid out of that bucket instead of general fund money, correct?
I don't want to misspeak to it because I'm not familiar enough with the details on that item. I mean, I think I'll, for those online, I mean, I can put a link online for them so you guys can read through it yourself. I think I want to rely on what they've written as the official materials. I don't know the answer to that, but it is on the calendar for Monday. So if you want to dig into those attachments, I mean, Elise, I don't know if you have anything that you would want to add on that, or if not, then let's just defer to the department, because I just don't want to misspeak on that information. It's the,
What's that?
sorry, I'm just trying to, if you do want to hear the item or comment on the item, it's item number 30. And item number 27 is scheduled for 1:30. So I would expect pavement preservation program to be heard sometime after 1:30, but probably not much later than 1:30. They've been off schedule, so there's never a guarantee, but that's the time if you want to hear or comment on that item.
Yeah, the reason behind my question is that on PPP line items for roads out here, the MAC has had some influence and impact on where things can potentially happen, and that happens more with this particular set of money than it does the other sets of money that potentially happen.
Mhm.
And if that goes up, that would be good for us. If I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an increased investment in roads, but it's going to be competing with whatever other things are, the general fund would be used for. Do look at the budget though, if you're specifically interested in roads, because there are roads items in there as well. Our office had put forward a proposal for some increased investment in complete streets, and then the county administrator's office had put in money as well for additional roads funding. So it is going to be considered as part of the budget process as well. So I'd urge anybody who's specifically interested in pavement preservation and anything else related to roads to take a look at those materials and try to see if there's any like key priorities there that you would want to drill in on.
Okay.
It is certainly a great thing to advocate for more road money coming from anywhere.
Yeah.
When we were doing the PPP analysis, I started out with a spreadsheet from Janice that included funding from PG&E funds, funding from SB1 funds, funding from the PPP program. And when I brought it to other groups, I'm like, here are the roads we're considering, and here's the budget we're considering. So I simplified it. You will have the same input on future roads picked, regardless of the funding source, as what we've been calling the PPP program, because it was the PPP program plus a few more thrown in.
Got it.
Okay.
Now I get it.
The pavement preservation program. So sorry.
Thank you. Acronyms.
So just kind of a general, I just heard, hey, we get 2% now, and we're getting roughly 40% of 2% from what I've been hearing in previous meetings. So, I mean, just in general, what I think I'm hearing is that it's going from 2, we're looking for 5. So now we're getting 40% of 5%. That's going to be a greater tax base to start with than we did with 2%. So theoretically, there's more general fund money coming.
Correct.
However, the PG&E money has already been spent, and we really, other than a couple of FEMA projects that are still left, that's gone. So it's really, I think what at least I'd be looking for, and I'm sure everybody else would be looking for, is okay, what's the total bucket that you're looking at?
Yeah.
Maybe we can keep that as kind of a non-discussion item, and for this group, because I've heard everybody on this board I know, as an alternate in my neighborhood and around, I keep hearing about it. I mean, this is one of the top topics.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the thing I hear about more than anything else.
absolutely.
I think I would just add, the numbers you were throwing around. I mean, I would take a look at the document, because I think that the item on Monday, that adjustment from 2% to 5%, having scanned the summary again, I think that they're basically saying that costs are rising and that typically they have a pattern of how they increase that budget each year. And so they're just asking that in general, that pattern increase slightly more quickly in order to keep up with cost escalation. So I think they're saying that the costs are going up, and so we need to increase the amount more each year. If you want to look at the total allocation and the total context, I think the budget process would be where you want to look, because we're talking about, I believe that there are $5 million that are proposed by the CAO, and then there's another 5 million that Linda and our office had put in as a board request. So I think if you want to actually change the overall allocation, the budget process is going to be the place where you would want to advocate, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Leo? Okay. All right, we're going to move on to our guest, Marquez here, to talk a little bit about how to report road issues. I was really interested in having you come to this meeting because, like the last subject that we were talking about on roads, and they're broken, they're not working, they have potholes, they have whatever. I get this question constantly from so many different people, and it would be great even if all of us on the MAC really understood how there is this one mechanism to report an issue. And then when that doesn't work, how should the public go about escalating the issue if they're not getting resolution?
Okay. I wasn't really prepared to speak on that, except
But
a little more generally,
yeah.
but I'll try to tailor.
Okay.
And give us just a second to get
Sure.
the screen back on.
So I'll introduce myself. That's okay.
Yes.
My name is Mark Ayala. I work for the Sonoma County ISD. Thank you. We are a highly anachronistic group. We're doing whatever we get away with. Information Systems Department. So we're the IT guys. Right. Most of them. Yeah. Been with the county for about 7 years. I came from a background of project management. We're a Fortune 100 company. And I love this place. Yeah. Let's see. So I'm gonna go through. There we go. Yay. So our PowerPoint presentation has cover slides. That's it. Tonight, quick introduction, which I've already done. I'm going to demonstrate the product to you. I'm going to show you some resources of how to get to it, and then take your questions. How much time do I officially have? I'm a stickler for being on time.
15.
15. Okay, better get going. Background. So we used to have this thing called SOCO Report It, which you guys probably used before. It was around for about 7 years. It handled about 22,000 requests. And a pilot project came along and said, hey, we want a CRM. We want something more than just putting trouble tickets into the system. We want to be able to see, we being the county want to be able to see when your requests come in, you call me back. I want to be able to look that up and see what's going on with your request. So it was a pilot project for the 2 departments that were already in SOCO Report It, PRMD, Public Resource and Management Department.
Can you go back to CRM?
Citizen Relationship Management Software. I told you. Really. So also the Transportation and Public Works Department, which is now called SPI, which is, oh boy, Sonoma Public Infrastructure.
SOCO-PI.
Yeah, Sonoma 5, but that's an acronym.
SOCO-PI.
So this pilot came along.
I agree, SOCO-PI.
So let's go right to it. Since we're time constrained. Here we have something that is SOCO Report It, and I want to show you something because it looks, so I can make it change. Yes, I can. So when you're looking at your phone, if we go for the mobile app, it's going to look like that. And if you, oh, it's not changing on your screen. Oh, well, okay.
It's close.
I
It
can't do
is
that.
close.
Just imagine something about the size of your phone screen, right? That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to scale. Here's, keep this.
I
Find it.
have it on mine too.
Thank you.
So, this is the page, and I will give you a link at the end on how to get here, or if you want to go to either of the mobile stores, you can get it. This is the page that looks exactly the same from this perspective, from the web app as it does in the mobile app. So you want to submit a request, and it sounds like roads might be near and dear to your hearts. So let's talk about roads. So let's just say there's a roadway request that you really want, or maybe it's even a signs, signals and lights over that bridge. So the first thing you do when you come in is you have to pick a report. You have to pick a type of request. So maybe it's some traffic signals not working properly. So I don't know. You pick. You'll notice that in this part it says that you can learn more. So if the department SPI, Sonoma Public Infrastructure, has published any sort of guidance about this type of report that you're going to submit, you'll find that in this link. Let's just go look at it. So there you go. So there's the official word from this neat new public infrastructure group, and I have to start all over again.
So is that related to that specific sign, or is that sign in general?
That's in general.
Okay,
That's just that type of request, right? So for requests of this kind, here's some information about requests of those kind. And that in things like potholes, it's probably very germane. Speaking of potholes, okay, we've picked our request type. It's in little tiny print right there. The next thing we have to do is tell the county, hey, where is this pothole that you're telling me about that you said exists? So we have to pick a valid county address. It has to be within the county unincorporated Sonoma County boundary. You can't report one in the city of Santa Rosa or Cotati or Windsor, because those are somebody else's jurisdiction. So I'm going to randomly pick somewhere, and I hope I'm not picking somebody's home or somebody's favorite street. I'm not trying to be mean. This gets we get questions about this. It's like, hey, Mark, I'm in this map and I picked a location. Nothing happened. What do I do now? Well, up here hidden in the left-hand corner is a little word request with a backer. So now that you have an address in the center here, you've completed finding an address, and you have to go back to this page. This is real important down here. Tell us more details. This is really your chance to describe exactly what, exactly where, and exactly how important it is to you, because they read this. They take a lot of, there's a lot of, if you said something and there's actually a field, I'm leading to the next fields that says, this is a trip hazard in my area. Oh boy, firefighter, right? Because we don't want that. So you have to put something here. I'm going to put very little. They would really like a picture. Hey, show us what it looks like, please. Because if it's terrible, we're going to prioritize that higher, right? If it's a little chip in the road that's that big and that deep, I don't know. When they've got things like this, that's probably going to be a bigger priority, right? So you have to answer this question, and you do have to answer this question. Notice I should have said this earlier. There's a little red asterisk at the end of the sentence. Anything that has a little red asterisk is an indication of you have to do something or put something, right? So if you don't, you won't be able to move forward. So is it a walking hazard? Yeah.
Can I just ask, I'm sure I'm not the only one that can read nothing that's on that screen. So when you say you have to answer this question, could you just read out what this question is so that we know
Absolutely.
what you're talking about?
And I'm sorry I didn't do that earlier. Thank you for speaking on. So the
Oh my
question.
gosh.
So if you attach a photo, and then the other question is this a walking hazard? And this is a select, so you have to select your answer, and this is a free text field. Just text it in. So something else that trips people up is that they come in here and they don't put anything in the description field, and it's a required field, so they're done. Like I can't move forward. That's by design. So you have to put in a description. And then when this bar is colored, you can move forward. So we've completed telling us more. You can get to add a photo. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to pull up something embarrassing on my computer. You can attach a photo. If you're using your phone and you take a picture with your iPhone and you have your iPhone set to take these fantastic high definition pictures, it might take a while to upload that picture through this app. So if you happen to think about it, you might want to dial that quality of photo down a little bit, or use your texting application to take the photo, because it will take a much smaller photo.
Never
And
knew
then-
that. Thank you.
And then you can pick that and add it here, right? Because the ones you take to text still end up in your library, at least on my phone. You can request to keep this private. I don't want anybody to know that I submitted this. If you submit code compliance requests, they're all private. So no one sees those. I get that question a lot. So again, at the bottom, if I haven't done something, this submit button will be grayed out. I get that question a lot.
So when it's not private, it's anyone that's using this will be able to see who it was.
I'm going to show
That's-
you that there's a thing that are my requests and then requests near me.
Okay.
So someone can look at the request near me and see your request potentially.
Okay.
Just like the old system, just like SOCO reporting. So, okay, I submit it. I don't do what most people do and work in a demo system. This is the live system. So I just submitted a request. I'll hear about it from the SPI guys tomorrow. So you get this positive, you're going to get an email to your phone that says you submitted a request and here's the details. It automatically jumps to your requests when you complete a request, and that's where this is. I want to show you how to get here from the startup screen, because I get this question a lot too. It's like, hey, I submitted my request and I don't know where they are. So when you click on the gear icon, or the old system was a gear icon, the wrench and the screwdriver icon, you can look at your requests or those nearby requests. So when you go to my requests, you see all the things that you've submitted. Then I will say two things about this. One, this filters function in the upper left-hand corner, you have to come in here the first time and set it the way you want, because it defaults to showing you the smallest amount of data so that it can bring it back to you the fastest, back to your phone. Because this thing is really designed for phones, right? Almost everything is. So you can pick the specific type of request you want. I'm going to pick potable because that's what we did. Statuses have to do with mostly internal stuff. Like you wouldn't know this unless you happen to click in this statuses thing. But if you got a thing back that said your request is completed or it was canceled, you could choose that status if you wanted to filter this data by. Date range, I suggest all time. Because you might have submitted a request a month ago and you might have submitted a request today. And you come in, and if you use the defaults, it's going to look at the last 30 days. So it might not pick up your request. And then I get the call, hey, Mark, my request, it's not here anymore. Where'd it go? So you want to apply those filters and then you get your request. So I've submitted my request and I forgot to tell them about the broken pipe in the culvert. The culvert needs to be fixed, but there's a pipe in there too. So I can write a comment to the guys, or to the folks, sorry, over at SPI, and they will get it as part of this request. So I can write a comment and send it, and your comments show up here. You can see the comments you made before. If I go back and then come back in. With messages. And here are the comments that I've submitted. This didn't update. This is 2 weeks ago. So the system's working on getting that one. But here's the comments that I've sent about this thing. So you can go back and look and see the comments that you submitted, or if they've made comments back to you and you're like, I forgot right that email, I threw it away or whatever. You can come back into the application and look at the comments. So let's talk about nearby requests. So nearby requests, there's two ways to do this, and I didn't say it. You have the filters that I've talked about. There's also a little map icon over here. You can come to the map icon and you can see requests that are within a 6-mile radius of you. And the filters that you set over here on the left apply to this map. So if you filter by pothole, you only see potholes. So if you want to see everything, you got to change the filters and then go to the map. I don't find the map all that useful because you don't really get a lot of information from pins. It's much better to go to the list.
Can you click on a pin to get it to open?
Yes,
To
yes,
the,
you can. Let's
Okay.
do that. It's a very good question. Go back to that. Here's a pin. So if I tap on it a little bit, it gives me information that's useful to me, not necessarily useful to you. If I tap on it twice, I will get information about that. And we're on the live system, so this isn't a test request. This is somebody's PG&E installed a pole. Thank you. And there's Janine over in the road yard making a comment back. So there you go. Whoever it was didn't submit a picture on it. But let's talk about the nearby requests. We pretty much covered it, but you're going to see your list. You're going to see a list of nearby requests that aren't necessarily yours, includes everybody's. And if you use the map, like I said, the map is only a 6 mile and it's only in the filter, whatever's in the filter stuff. So that
Can
was
you change how big the nearby is?
I wish.
I wish
Yeah,
too.
that's what
Yeah,
I.
So the vendor tells us that, look, we can give you a specific range where we blow out the whole county, but we're going to tell you what's going to happen if we blow it out to the whole county. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to report that it's broken because it's going to take forever to come back. Because when you click on that, in order to build this list that you see right here, it's bringing back pictures, it's bringing back details, it's bringing back all kinds of stuff.
I'd rather make it smaller. I wasn't thinking of.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Make it
Yeah.
less than 6
6
Yes.
miles is.
Yeah, like I want to look within a 5-block radius.
So you can always zoom in on that map. You can always come to this map
Okay,
Okay.
and then
okay.
use the zoom in feature
Well, that's useful then.
and zoom in. Sorry, I misunderstood.
I did too.
You can always zoom in and get as close as you want. And there's a tricky little thing here. Some of these things will stack up on top of each other.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you zoom in as much as you can and then see if you can.
That's a busy neighborhood. There's no
6 miles based on your location or where you are on the map.
It's
I'm trying to remember when I used it, whether it was like I wasn't where I was reporting.
Right, I had that
and it
too.
didn't
Yeah.
come in. I was like in Forestville and it was giving me Forestville instead of Guerneville.
And tried over and over again to get where I'm standing, even though I've got location on it and everything, and it just wouldn't do it. So I had to find an address that was nearby in
That's
order
right.
to make that address.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
You guys know more about it than I do.
Well, to use it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to be good citizens if you are good.
All right. You know what? Well, it's recorded, so I'll look at the recording and see if I can get you an answer. At the bottom of the screen, there are other things, right? So you can get back to this screen to start over. Messages are things that have been sent back to you or things that you've sent about your request, right? Your account thing is all the things about your account that you entered when you were setting up your account. You can log out at the very bottom of this screen. There's a way to deactivate your account and log out account. So if you decide I don't want anymore, there's 2 ways to do it. You can log out and that just keeps you out, or you can deactivate your account. If you deactivate your account, don't ask us to turn it back on. We can't, because if there's an encrypted key that's kept by the vendor. So you have to create a new account and generate a new encrypted key. So here under more options are ways to get to the same options that are under the wrench and the screwdriver. List of county websites. Hey, well, what if I'm interested in something else? You know, here's a little sprinkling of something else that typically we get requests for around. If you're trying to make a request in a different city, these are some city assets that might help you make that request. Zinch Social. Okay. Don't know that one. And then tech support, this tech support, it just opens to whatever your email client is and puts the address in the email client. So you can type an address, like those come to me, or they come to my team, the team that I'm on. And you can pick, you can actually pick Spanish when you sign up, if you want, you can choose Spanish for this app instead of English, and it's natively, everything in the app is in Spanish. I haven't tested that. That's what the vendor tells us, and we've had people who are Spanish speakers tell us that so far so good. We occasionally they find something and then we have to go change it. So I hope I'm within my 15 minutes. There you go. And I'm sure you have questions.
Can you just like, so there's roads, there's permit stuff, code compliance. Well, there's, what are the things that?
Trash.
Sure. Let's go back into the app and let's look at the categories. So because this is a pilot and it's only for 2 departments in the beginning, which is not SBI. Well, it's SBI now, and then permit resource management department, I think is the Permit Sonoma. So you have code enforcement, which is Permit Sonoma. You have abandoned vehicles and code compliance. Oh, really? And then you have roadway, which are all the things road related.
Potholes, line of sight.
Sign visibility, line of sight, slide, vegetation overgrowth, guardrail damage. And then the last category is still sort of related to that: sign down, streetlight problem, and traffic. That's it. That was initially enabled. If you remember, you've been around. SoCo reported in the past had things like graffiti,
Right.
dead animal removal. The chipping stuff moved to a whole different, much better designed and enabled site with our GIS team. They did a great job on that. They took it out of here because this was too limited. They needed more information. Or they took it out of the SoCo report. Because this is a pilot, there's, it was very focused on 2 departments. So those other departments' requests aren't in here.
Was the requests that were on the old system that they automatically moved to the new system? Because when I go to SoCo Connect now, the information that I reported in January is not showing up
In January.
Right.
Well, this system went live in June of 22, at the end of June in last year.
It's saying no requests noted, and
So
Maybe that
only,
date was wrong.
only the data from 2 years prior, only open data, only open
Open
requests.
data. Okay, so
that
if they
have been-
closed his, it would not show up.
If there was the closed data, only went back 2 years. So if it was older than 2 years, you won't find it in.
this current year, and it was related to a storm drain and culvert issue.
Yeah,
And
you can't find it in your phone.
can't find it.
Longer than 90 days.
Yeah,
Longest
you-
filter.
Yeah,
You have
so
to change the
okay.
filter.
you can select all time. There is, you can you can select all time.
Maybe on there.
Let's look.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to, you gotta click on it,
I did.
and then all time is at the top.
Oh.
Counterintuitive, never mind, sorry.
Counterintuitive, that's great.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah. What else you got? These are easy.
Okay, almost got there.
Yeah,
So, I have a question. This is a really useful, I think this is a really useful tool.
Mhm.
And my experience, and some of my neighbors' experience using this is that they think that the response times are quicker when they use this rather than they call somebody. Which is great, right? So the utility of it is proving out with the limited number of people that I know have used it. But is there an effort by the county to push this out so more people know about it and can actually use it?
yeah, so, I mean, when it went live, it went out on our social media channels, it went out, kind of a county blast, it even made the Press Democrat. Don't quote me, but beyond that, I don't know. I mean, you're talking to the tech guy. I'm
Right.
You're talking about policy and
Right.
communications. I don't have the answer for you.
It's a difficult one because there are less and less media outlets. And all these things rely upon media to get the message out. And that's where with less and less media outlets, you're pretty stuck.
Yeah.
If you, depending upon social media, to pass the message along to people you know, as opposed to an honest to God official media.
And it also it depends on the individual making the effort to go look for the information. I mean, it's kind of, it's
Yes.
incumbent upon the citizen to be involved in what's going on.
It's unfortunate,
finding-
isn't it?
Well, since we're doing all this summer of interactions, it's something that we ought to have at our tables.
It's on our,
Yeah,
it's on our information sheet and we
Yeah, it's on the, it's on the
definitely
big
publish
sheet.
it.
Yeah. I know it's listed there, but is there anything else that we should, like, should we actively say, hey, you want us to show you how to use this or anything like that?
Oh, wow.
About someone else.
Yeah.
I'll call my grandson.
No. Yeah, really. No.
I have a question about roads requests. Like, I get people who say, how do I get my road on the pavement preservation program list? Because that's like, how many years later, if pavement preservation finally says, your road is on the list, it's for this year, how wonderful. Would making repeated requests, if it's something that's a big project on SoCo Connect, push it up in relevance and recognition on PI, or even, oh, there
That's
she
a
goes.
policy question.
Yeah, he's the tough
Go to
We
E5.
use the maintenance logs as a starting point when we start looking at the paving. It's silly for us to have 3-4 different databases of where we should be looking at road paving. So we start with the baseline of what's been getting maintenance requests.
Okay, so
from
pavement
this- from
preservation
this-
program
From
is
this
most,
Yeah, okay.
pavement preservation is paving, so it's pavement preservation, as opposed to, I need my culvert fixed, the ditch is clogged, that kind of thing. So the culverts, the stop signs, the sign is down because someone knocked it over, those things are also co-connect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you could also make correlation. There's
The potholes.
tons of requests about potholes in the same place, that
Mhm.
there may be a correlation that the road needs to be repaved.
That's one of my thoughts is that if someone said, okay, our road is a mess and we want all of our neighbors to put in a report. And you now have 20 reports on this one pothole, and then you learn that there are others along the way, would that get the attention that people are requesting?
No.
No.
As he made the point, which is they go based on the information they receive. So if you send in something about a pothole and they see that it's something that you put your foot in and it would swallow it up to your ankle, that's gonna be the #1 priority. Next to a pothole that's, just a divot in the road. And if you have 30 people reporting the divot in the road versus a big deep pothole, the big deep pothole is still gonna get the priority. That being said, it is really important if you have potholes to report them.
Yeah.
Because I get people saying, nobody's paid attention to our road for years, and I say, have you used SoCo Reported or SoCo Connect? And they're like, no, we've never reported potholes. So it's important for people to report potholes when they come, and for that information to be accurate. It's silly to have 30 people pile on about one pothole, because they really do look at each one and decide. If you don't get any response, as you pointed out, you'll get a case number that says this is what's going on, and then you'll be told whether it's resolved or closed. If you don't get any response, in other words, if something's going wrong, then it makes sense to contact us or contact, is there anybody else to contact, or we do have a phone call for the phone number for the maintenance department so that we can go and figure out what went wrong. Sometimes that happens, but for the most part, just reporting what's there is super helpful.
Can I
And-
just
and-
mention
and
too that
use a picture.
pictures, thank you, you're setting up my little suggestion here. It's really, I use it all the time, and a lot of it's for potholes, trash and things like that. The problem with the pothole thing is it's hard to get the perspective of how big it is in a picture, right? So I actually, and I had my neighbor, and that's how I got them to load it on theirs, come over, and I said, stand next to that pothole, right? So it shows how big it is, right?
And
And
use something
she-
that they can look at the photo and go, oh, we see that
Yes.
a water bottle, your foot
Yes,
Yeah, maybe take
Ten.
the shoe off and throw it in the pothole now.
Hey, well, maybe that's.
or
a-
just lay across it like that.
Maybe that, maybe that could be a feature that's added, you know how there's apps that you can just point and it measures.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Maybe, you know, someday we could do that with this too.
Oh, is that a possibility that? No.
You know, there are advancements coming in AI all the time. I wish. I've gone way over my time here, but I
So
think
we're
it's
asking
questions.
questions, so that has no limits. Just
Yeah.
so you
was
know.
only presentation time.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So
That would get 45 minutes.
here is the links. Here are some examples of what they look like on the stores, on the Apple Store and the SoCo Companion, the Google Store. If you've not been there, not seen them. So there's little image recognition. And then that's who I am. It's not big anymore.
I know, I'm trying to
Take a
fix
picture
it.
of
There
it.
we go.
And you need to get a hold of somebody, ask a question about SoCo reported, or a question comes to mind right after the meeting, please get a hold of me. I'm happy to answer it.
Well, one of the reports that I gave over the winter when the river was rising, I was pulling things off of somebody's private property and putting it up on the side of the road because the river was rising and this was a homeless camp and so I wanted to get it up to where someone could take it away. And when I reported it and they said that that material comes from a private property, it wasn't on our public property at the time. And I'm like, how am I supposed to get this stuff to not go down the river if they won't touch it? Because it came from private property, was put on public property.
Nothing to do with
Yeah.
me.
Not to blame, you, not to blame.
Homeless camps are covered by a contract with Russian River Keeper. So keeping things out of the river is paid for by a contract from the county, the Russian River Keeper, and they're not connected to this particular program. So calling Carol Shoemate, a Russian River
And
Keeper.
I did that. She couldn't get there in
And she
time
couldn't, yeah.
because she was cleaning homeless camps that were along the
Elsewhere.
river. And so the stuff went back into the river. Well, actually, what happened to it, some of it went back into the river and some of it, someone that was my stuff and hauled it back away.
Yeah.
And it was
There
one
are
of
workers
those
that like to do that.
just frustrating, so frustrating. And I go, next time I'm bringing my pickup truck.
So I will say
Hey,
that
do you have a question?
Is there a Dutch Bill Creek maintenance program or creek keeper?
Yeah, that's River Keeper. That's River Keeper.
Homeless camps up and down, yeah.
Yeah, because they do anything, it's the tributaries as
Yeah.
well as the river itself.
Anything we can do to help support Russian River Keeper is great. One of the things that came out of the last flood is that we were able to organize the emergency management to waive their dump fees so that once they pick it up, they're not paying huge amounts of money to dump things. So we're constantly trying to find ways to support their capacity to do more. But as you say, sometimes they're overloaded.
So isn't a log jam responsible for the breaking down of the bridge?
No, well, the tree fell.
The tree
The
fell
tree fell and
and took
yeah,
out some of the.
destroyed the infrastructure of the bridge, right?
Yeah, but it happened very quickly. It wasn't like the tree was there for a month.
Okay, there's still those two trees that are on our detour bridge that we're using that are still laying on the railing. And I read something in Linda's monthly printout that she had regarding the railing on the bridge being fixed.
Ah.
You know which ones I'm talking about, the two that, and I guess they've been there for some time too, and you know, somebody was able to cut those down, but I'm sure there's, with all the tree surgeons that we have around here, I'm sure they could pull the rest of those two trees out that are leaning up against the railing.
So if you put this into SoCo Connect yet,
No,
maybe that's just the way of getting action. It's amazing how many things you can actually get action on by doing this.
Mhm.
I'm kind of blown away by it because a bunch of us started using it. And it's like, well, look at, I got this little email. They said, you have a number, and then they'll say, this is what we're doing about it. And then they'll tell me when they did it. And I've been able to actually complain about a few things that weren't moving along the way I wanted them to, but at least, and then I sort of call Elise and Debbie, like, what happens if it doesn't work for you? Then you go, oh, I'm gonna talk to Elise and Debbie, but it really does make a difference. It's astonishing how well it works.
I've had them show up the next day.
Me too.
Use the app. It really can.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So co-connect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I gave a presentation to River Keepers about 4 or 5 years ago. It was through CDC, the Community Development Commission. They brought River Keepers in, and I showed them all how to use it. And actually, they used to be able to get into Soco Report at the old to the back end.
Oh, to the back end. We were wondering if we could get into the back end because everybody wants to get into the back end.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no, you're the IT guy, so thank you for making this function for us because it really does function well.
Thank you. We very rarely get started, so I appreciate it.
You only complaints? Is that all it is?
But did he get the written?
If it was in.
There's a link. What?
The written report showed
No, they came in, the written reports came in after,
too late.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. I hope that was helpful for folks. I know it seems like it's a really mundane, silly kind of thing, but
No, it's
I just want to make sure everyone knows it's there, can use it. It does in fact work. Okay, let's move on to committee and staff reports. Communication.
Thank you.
Sure.
So we are concentrating on the idea that the MAC needs to have more visibility in the community and have more avenues of communication going both from us to the community and from the community back to us so that we can deal with the issues and concerns. To do that, we developed an event scheduler calendar.
Yeah. Calendar.
It's a lovely Google Doc, and it is a list of community, local events, community events coming up, especially right now through September or so. We have been showing up to those events to talk with people, to hand out information, to get their ideas about how we can communicate better back to them. And we are challenged because we have a number of events that we have been staffed only by communications committee. And really this is meant to be all of the MAC representatives and alternatives. I mean, Lucy and Vesta, thank goodness, have been involved in a couple of things. So we need more participation and we need people to go to that Google Doc and to look at what events are coming up and to add events. There are things in your communities that are coming up that we may not know about, and please add them and tell us about that so that we can manage getting to each of these, even if it's only for an hour or two to talk with people. It's been extremely effective. We were at the Forestville Fix-It Fair, and we had really good participation for that. We've been at, I was just at the Forestville Farmers Market that opened. We've done a couple of other events, and we have found that people want to come, the Forestville Town Hall, people want to come up and learn about who we are and what we're doing. And we sign them up for the newsletter if they allow us to, and we give out some information. We have worked on building tools that will help all of us in communicating better with the folks in our communities. And one thing that we have, I've worked with Debbie on this, and I think we're close to getting business cards for reps and alternatives. And they will be kind of generic in a way, based on locality. So the Hacienda, we will have a Hacienda business card, and all the reps from Hacienda, that's me, and the alternative will have those cards and be able to hand them out. There will be an email address on that card. That email address will funnel back to the two of us in our case. Forestville will have 3 people getting it, so that everybody in that locality will be able to answer whatever emails are coming.
Is that an email address like Hacienda at?
Yeah, like Forestville rep at Snowball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll keep one.
It's very simple.
This is sort of a draft that I'm gonna want feedback from everybody from before we go forward with
Yeah.
it.
So I think it'd be nice to have people be able to walk away with something easy to carry. The other thing we're working on is, we have the information sheets, and thank you, Vesta, again, for the creation of the smaller one. But we really need something that stands out a little bit more, that is easy to read, that people can put up on their refrigerator, and lists kind of, the MAC, here we are. And here are contacts, here's how you can get on, to the newsletter, and have it be bright and easy to look at. So hopefully I'll have that draft to you at some point. And again, we just need more help in terms of participation with the rest of our reps and alternatives, and getting to that Google Doc is really important. Patty sent a link out. We maybe should send the link out again, Patty. Yeah, so that's
Great.
Is that link available on the MAC website so people in the community can add things to the calendar?
no, and
It's only in-house. Okay.
May I suggest that you send me the link and I send it out to
Sure.
the reps, because that'll avoid any Brown Act violation. And
well, nobody responded at all, so.
then there was.
This is showing my personal address on here.
Okay, then correct that. Okay, all right. If you will note that on it and then give it back to me, I'll make sure that I do.
Any questions on communication?
Can I add something to
Sure.
that? We, not only have we done the Forestville events, we did the night market in Guerneville, and we did the art festival last week. And it's kind of a haul, to sit there for 4 or 5 hours and talk to people coming by. It would be really nice. It would have been really nice for us, I think, at both events to have a representation of other districts.
Yes.
So that when someone, because the first thing we ask someone is, where do you live? And what are your concerns? And I, sent up a whole bunch of them, or not a bunch, but a few, comments and concerns to Debbie after the event, and got people signed up for the newsletter. But it would have been really nice to have someone from Gernwood Park to answer one guy's questions, because I couldn't do it. And but
Well,
just
not
do
to
it-
mention 4 or 5 hours is a long time.
Yeah, it
And
is.
plus their
Yeah.
setup and breakdown of the canopy and the banner and the table and all that
Which
stuff,
is-
so.
it's not hard, but it would just be great to have more representation from the larger group.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and people really appreciate having someone to talk to about their concerns.
Patty?
I would add, we did not sit there for 4 or 5 hours, and I don't think anybody should feel obliged to go to these things for 4 or 5 hours. I think we signed up for about 3. But even if you just go for 1 hour, you will meet people who are really happy to talk to you, and it's a good thing. So please do sign up. I've been to 2 of the Guerneville events. I'm Monte Rio Villa Grande. But like Bessie said, people come up from all up and down the Lower Russian River. So it's volunteer for something if you would just enjoy being there and being part of the.
Right.
So the other thing is, I just wanted to add that, in addition to everything else we've been doing, our next outreach that we're focused on is Sonoma Gazette, Press Democrat, what sort of publicity we might be able to get for either this MAC or all MACs, that sort of thing. And we're talking about that, and if you have input on that.
And also expanding our Spanish speaking out to our Spanish speaking communities. Thank you, Lupe. So, yeah,
Go ahead, Mike.
We also talked about name tags.
yes.
What's the status?
Well,
on
that's
that?
on the list.
It's on the list.
It's on the
That'll-
list.
It's been on the list for 60 days.
Those will get ordered with the business cards. So we're just, and part of it is the renaming of the
Have you
Pocket
worked with
Canyon.
the county before?
Yes.
It's been on for 60 days. That's
Okay.
pretty short
Well,
period of
also,
time.
what I noticed in terms of the multiple participation is because I do the fire safe bar stove booth. I'm the one who has the canopy, I'm the one who has the table, I'm the one who has the boxes for all the information. Getting those to somebody else, or even that, no matter what it involves, it's always me setting it up and me tearing it down. And if anybody happens to come by and wants to sit with me, it's great, but it's still the responsibility of the person who has the stuff. And so that is a real challenge.
It is
You just, you get,
Especially if you're one person.
Yes,
yeah, and
I
like. in the
can't
case
put
of
the
fire safe
canopy up
bar
on
stove,
myself.
Yeah, I've learned
Yeah.
how to do that too.
Yeah.
And so for
You have to
me,
teach
as I
me.
do it every week, all summer.
Can I make a suggest, like, I knew and theoretically that you guys were gonna be there. If there was an because I was at the River
Oh,
Arch
so
thing,
send something out.
sent something
before.
out and saying,
Well,
because I might have been.
but you should be looking at the Google Doc and signing up for some of this.
Right, and then we will reach out.
But
to
it's a
you.
good idea to send
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You're
if
right.
we had a
It's
reminder,
to remind.
Like
you.
I was there anyway. I was
I thought
working
about
with
popping across the street to come find you.
Yeah. You could have,
I have a question.
actually.
And
So
dragging you
the-
back over.
The reason why the communications committee is out there is so that it's two-way street in a physical form, so people know about the MAC. Is there anybody here who would come up to a table and ask something, and what would that be that you would be asking, or comments that you would want us to know?
Alicia, some,
I'm just wondering, since the communications team committee has been doing such a great job coming up with suggestions, have each of the representatives changed or added to how they promote the MAC meeting each month? Are you posting things physically? Are you going out to your networks more religiously? How have you increased your activity in promoting the MAC meetings each month as a result of the committee? I'm asking not to put people on the spot, but because the idea was to have a committee developing these ideas and then the representatives
Yes.
implementing them. So I'm wondering if that trickling down is happening.
Well, it's interesting. I use when someone, either someone from the communications committee or sometimes it's me, if I put it up on the Facebook page, I don't just put a link, I put the whole text, because I found people don't do another link. They're like, that's it. I've got, my 2 sentences and that's all I need to know. So I'll put the whole text in, and then I take it from the MAC Facebook page and share it onto mine. And then I repost it on Nextdoor, because those are the only social media ones that I haven't gotten into Twitter and Instagram. But I know that there are other people who will do Twitter and Instagram, and I'm just kind of being stubborn about it.
And,
So I just
and
don't
people
know if.
have been asking for us to post physically, like at the Guerneville Senior Center.
We did.
Oh, right.
We did some
Yeah.
bulletin board stuff.
You guys getting those things
The
done?
problem is there are so few bulletin boards
I know.
out there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I put it up on the Forestville bulletin board, the one that's downtown, but that's about it, because that's the only bulletin board we have in our town.
No, there's one
Well,
at
I think
Sam's.
it would be
Market.
helpful for,
Oh.
it would be
I thought
helpful if
you
the
had that
county would provide the
Of course.
information in a format that we could print off and post.
yeah.
Yeah,
And also include a
Yeah.
QR code,
Yeah.
as I stated last month, so that people can also just scan the QR code and put it in
We
their
have that
calendar.
on our materials that
Right.
we're using
Yes.
for outreach,
Good.
for sure. And we've started a notebook as well, so if people don't want to do the QR code, they can just write their email address down.
Exactly.
Well, we actually have a sign up page, by the way, but
well,
I got
and
your notebook, but we also have a sign up page.
when this is the thing that we put up on the bulletin board, it's too big. It's
You're right. No, you don't need that.
It needs to be bullet points, like, these are the topics we're dealing with this month. And in the case of this one, it'd be, are you interested in SoCo Connect? And that's our main topic, and then all our other things happen, but that would be the one. This is our feature.
Yeah.
And that might be the way, like you're saying, if you were to say, a piece of paper that's this big and it says MAC meeting, blah, 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 location, time, link to the Zoom, and then QR code, or QR code even went to the Zoom. QR codes are easy to come by.
Right.
QR code to the website, so that it was so small in terms of concise that people would actually look at it, because
Yeah.
these things are a
That's-
deterrent, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I usually just copy this thing and I take most of it out and then send out emails.
Good.
I take most.
Yeah, I
every-
did too. I take all the
every-
bottom-
everything out except what they might be interested in.
Yeah,
leave
just
it
get
at
that
that.
one. Yeah.
Anyway, we need to keep
Okay.
moving. Thank you. Okay, the next is, well, anyone have any comments on communication?
So what materials do you have? If I were to volunteer, what materials are already there? What am I doing? That's what I'm still.
It depends upon the event, but in most cases, we have a canopy, so a kind of a booth.
Right.
We have a table, we have chairs, we have some of the information that's back in the back there. A couple of other county resource information sheets for the sheriff's department, for example, and
Have a Soco Connect sheet.
yes,
Okay,
it's
yeah,
on there.
I
Yeah,
can't remember.
yeah.
It's on one of the
One of the
larger-
sheets, yeah.
So we keep actually, everything is kept at my house. And if you wanted to do an event, you would tell me, I'd like to do this event. I want to use the table and the chairs and get the, whatever handouts you have. And that's as easy as it is. It's sort of at my house just because I had room in my garage and nobody else did, but also so that there's one place where everything goes from and goes back to. But we would love for you to let us know. And it doesn't have to be some huge event. I mean, it's, can be as small as a neighborhood
Well, I think
event.
we're gonna be starting the Guerneville farmers market,
market
so
too, yeah.
maybe come to the next one.
Like with the Hollydale
Joe's doing that.
breakfast. When the Hollydale.
I
has the
do
end of
that
the
one.
month Breakfast.
I do that one, yeah.
Okay, any other comments on communications? All right, let's move to community cleanup ad hoc. Since Lisa's not here.
I think that's me too.
Yeah.
Somehow everybody else took a step back and I was left standing. So community cleanup, we are, as you know, we were successful at putting together materials that will help us move forward with large community cleanup. So kind of dump days, thanks to Lucy and the Forestville Planning Association. We have some good information about how to put that together. We can help communities fill out, you need to have a 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization, sponsor it. And we can help with the paperwork and all of that. So we're looking at doing more of those. Probably next will be Guerneville, and Monterio's on the list. But we're also sort of swinging our focus to smaller cleanups and looking at, Vesta and Lucy and I did a cleanup before the Forestville parade with a little bit of community help as well. And looking at neighborhood cleanups and how can we help support that and promote that. And get the tools that people need to, hey, I want to do a hacienda cleanup, for example. And it doesn't have to be a big cleanup. It can just be, we have 2 blocks of this neighborhood that we would really like to just focus on and clean up. So that's kind of where we're thinking about going now that we have the tools in place to manage the larger cleanups, is how to kind of craft the same protocols and tools for to help with smaller community cleanups.
Great. Any council questions?
And a question, but a comment, I'm noticing that with the small community cleanup, 3 blocks perhaps in Forestville, what really gave me hope was that families came out.
Yeah.
So that there were parents with their kids taking just maybe half a block or a block and teaching their kids about the importance of picking up stuff that's on the street.
It was
and
great.
things like that. So that teaching the younger folks that this is something that's part of the community.
It was cute. One parent was like, my son is so excited. Wait, be careful with the cigarette butts. I wanted to ask, one of my so-called reporting requests was the Mirabelle Park and Ride. And the first thing came back, they said, it doesn't belong to us. And then it was like, well, it does belong to you. It's not private property, it's public property. And then it came down to, we don't maintain that. And it needs to be maintained. And so then the concept was, that means they don't maintain any of the park and rides, not just the one that I'm looking at Mirabelle. So could the cleanup committee have a cleanup that involved the park and rides? Because we all have park and rides.
Well, you're on the cleanup committee, so
I-
that's a really good suggestion.
But the question I have around that is the concept of like the one we did downtown Forestville. We didn't get a nonprofit. We didn't get any
Right,
waivers.
yes.
We didn't get any
No.
insurance stuff. We got some donations.
Yes.
But I tend to more do the vigilante public works thing. Just get out there and do it. And so as summer is just wild and the grass is this tall and the glass is there and all the rest of it, it's hard organizing these things in advance, putting up the posters and putting out the public media and all these things to get people to do it. And she's got her hand
Yeah.
up. So-
Let's move to,
The park and rides are managed by SCTA and Stephen Schmidt is in charge of that, and I will send his contact information to you.
Sonoma County Transit Authority.
Yes.
Oh, so all the public are
All the
parking.
park and rides are managed by Sonoma County Transit Authority.
Oh,
And he's
interesting.
quite responsive. If you reach out to him, I'll get the contact information to everyone.
Oh, God, thank you. Because I really don't want to do it again. I've done it 3 years and I'm just not kind of over it, you know?
all right, anyone have any questions about cleanup? All right, let's move to Pocket Canyon area renaming.
Okay.
Right.
This has been a lot more difficult than I thought it would be,
About that,
simply
I thought,
because.
I thought it was gonna be hard.
We have one meeting longer, but I did discuss with Debbie this week, doing a poll of some sort. And figuring out how to do that and get this done by the next meeting. And we talked about, possibly doing a hyphenated name. But we do want to reach out to Joe and see if he'd like to be Guerneville North as
Guerneville North and South.
opposed to Guerneville South, but we thought we should add keep Pocket Canyon, the name on the district name, because Pocket Canyon is its own entity, and our district goes actually all the way to Canyon Rock,
Right.
which blew me away.
Yeah. What's the same as Casadero, Buckets Mills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, it'd be great if because we have to vote on that because
right.
it has to go in bylaws and.
Could we have it be something dramatic like the canyons, Maze, Pocket, Neely?
Well, Neely's not a canyon,
I know.
and then we lose vacation too. And then it's great, great.
Okay, anyone have a comment or question about the renaming of Pocket Canyon? Okay, Elise.
I did my report at
See-
There was
Go
the
ahead.
one item about the summer parking.
Thank you for reminding me. We have restarted our parking enforcement contract as we had last year. It was so completely effective. They've asked us for a list of problem areas where they should focus. So if any of you can identify for us, I'm thinking where we've traditionally had problems is the Forest Hills and around Mother's Beach, opposite Sunset. Opposite Sunset Beach, we have challenges around opposite Steelhead Beach. We have problems around Patterson Point in Monterey.
Anywhere there's a big
Lava today.
And Martinelli Road.
Oh, yeah, Martinelli Road, because that's that illegal
Yeah.
beach, yeah.
So if there are any other
Is that
areas,
what's got a name?
That's what it's called.
What's it called?
The Party Beach.
The party beach.
Yeah.
if there are any other areas that you can think of that we should ask them to address, please let me know.
Okay,
Summer Bridge in Guerneville.
thank you.
Yes.
Tunnel renaming.
Oh, the tunnel.
Oh,
No
that's
kidding.
true.
Yeah.
The tunnel. And I
People
think
park in the tunnel?
Oh, It's like you can't sometimes drive on Canyon too.
Mm,
It's the same with the summer bridge in Gurnville, is it? It's hard to get by.
mhm.
At least is the the enforcement going to be handled by highway patrol?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a question about the shuttle. Is it possible to have signage around that the shuttle exists? Because things like Mirabelle Park and Ride, there's actually a fence that's over the water department's pump that could have a nice banner on it that says, take the shuttle, go to El Molino High School and get the shuttle. And there's no signage that says anything. Is it possible that? when-
Vigilante.
Oh, yeah. No, if I hadn't been sick for 3 weeks, I would have had the signs up. But I'm thinking, it's expensive to get a banner. I did it for our downtown cleanup. My own expense. Does they have any banners, any signs, any A-frames, things that can be put up so people know to take that shuttle? Because of an article in the Press Democrat is not
The
enough.
agenda item of parking enforcement, but I'll certainly take it down.
Yeah, well,
The I has the sign department.
fine department. Okay, well then, because for people who don't know about it, they're gonna park.
Yeah.
And so they can use anything and everything.
Okay, I'll just, I'm gonna get ready to adjourn. Those of you that may be interested in joining an ad hoc on the election, please let me know. We're gonna form an ad hoc for those. You'd have to be someone that's not up for election to be on this ad hoc. It's just about the process and collecting ballots and that kind of stuff. So.
And so I'll make my announcement again. I'm not gonna do this again next year. Anybody wanna, I've been doing it for 5 years. No?
Hold on.
Have you let Cynthia know? You might wanna, or do you want me to let her know that see if she wants to be on it?
On the ad hoc?
Yeah.
Sure.
We do also need to ask her if she wants to continue. I mean, how is her health? She's missed what, 3-4 missing meetings?
And there's no defined thing around missing meetings, right? Because everybody has an alternate.
I believe
Except for
there's
this.
something in the bylaws.
Well,
Every meetings.
What?
I don't think it is defined.
I thought it was, unless it was changed. If you miss 2 meetings,
I'll have to go back and look, but I
yeah.
thought there was a definition.
There was.
2 or 3 meetings.
I think it's not a requirement, but it's a may. Where the council has a choice. I think it's something like
I
that.
think we had to change the wording on it. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so if you're interested, let me know.
I can't be on it because.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Okay, or I can do it too. So, okay, all right, great.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
You completely reminded me, I did pick up today. Oh, I forgot an input.
So do we know how Cynthia's done? Anybody?
I did get a get well card for everybody to sign.
He has not given me permission to talk about it. This meeting, and I think we should-
Okay.
I left it in the car. I'll run out and get it. Perhaps.
Okay, with that. Meeting is adjourned.
Those are old people. Be careful.
Oh. Should I get a motion that we adjourn the meeting? Second. All right, second.